Hello, Tyler Rowland here, and we're coming to you from Paul G. Blazer High School. And with me is the head coach of the Ashland Tomcats. 9-5 last season, a district title, and Ashland's second regional title in the last 32 years. And Coach, it's good to be with you here. Let's talk a little bit about the team. I know you've got a lot coming back, and I'm sure a lot of energy and excitement.
Yeah, we have a good core of kids back, really strong junior and senior class, strong sophomore class too. We returned several starters back on offense and a couple guys on defense that's played a bunch. Sawyer Eden's been in a lot of battles. He'll be a 3-year starter. So, we got a lot of guys back that I'm excited about that will lead this team.
Going back on last year a little bit, you guys were, I believe, 3-3 starting out. It looked like a very young team that was maybe too young to do anything at the end of the season at first. And what was the moment last year when you guys thought, wow, this is coming together?
I think just experience, the more they played and got on the field and got under the Friday night lights, the more comfortable they got. And they got more comfortable with what we were asking them to do. And the greatest thing about them is they stayed to the plan. They didn't stray from what we were asking them to do. They didn't get overly frustrated, and we were all frustrated. But they kept to the plan and kept working. They showed up every Monday ready to work, despite what happened on Friday night. And I think that, and along with the leadership we had, it just really got us going in the right direction. And as they got more games under their belt, they started playing better, and good things started happening.
And for you as a coach, what's something maybe you feel like you learned last year, especially just stepping in and, having a tough first year, but pulling off, maybe on this end, one of the best coaching jobs I've ever seen?
Well, I think it goes back to, some of the things that Coach Love and Coach Hart told me about. When you coach here, there's so many things you deal with that's not football related and off the field issues, and there's so many things going on that it's so much different than being a position coach where you just show up every day at practice and focus on football. And when Tony always told me, when you sit in this chair, there's so many other things that's on your plate that you have to worry about. So I think that was probably the biggest thing, is just realizing and learning everything that you have to deal with as a head coach in this program, because there's a lot of expectation here, and there's a lot of people that like to have their input and like to have their say in what goes on. And I think that being able to focus on the players and the coaches made a big difference for us. And so that part of it was something that I think that didn't catch me off guard, but just you have to go through it in order to experience it and do it. And I think that was probably one of the biggest things I learned from in the first year.
And you guys had a couple scrimmages early on, and of course, it was against teams that really were testing. You had a defending state finalist in Jackson, Ohio, and a defending state champion in Huntington High. What do you feel like you learned about your team in that stretch?
Well, I think when you play those types of teams in scrimmages, they can, they show you where you need improvement at and the things you're lacking in and areas where you need to improve. And I thought both those teams did that. I think they're both well-coached teams. Jackson, Andy Hall there, he does a great job, and Billy Seals at Huntington does a good job. So, just being able to go against a well-coached team, and both those teams had athletes. I think Jackson's running back had like 12 D1 offers, and then I think Huntington had five kids with Power 5 offers, or FBS offers. So, it was good to see that type of competition and that type of speed, and hopefully that will pay off for us as we go throughout the season.
One thing you did this summer, you won I believe a strength challenge at Boyd County. The line did a lineman challenge, and talk about their development and how they're coming along.
Yeah, those guys really pushed themselves this off season in the weight room. We were for the most part pretty weak up front last year on the offense and defensive lines, and they had a really good winter. The kids really busted it in the weight room and got stronger, especially our offensive line guys. And I felt like going into this summer that was going to be a strong point for us, because we had 4 or 5 starters back, and actually technically we always say we have 5 starters because Joe Hicks he started several games for us last year, so we really have 5 starters back up front. And just the development they had over the winter and spring, and the strength that they developed, allowed us to do some good things. And, we, like I said, we won the lineman challenge out there at Boyd County this summer. And, those summer events are fun to compete, but we don't put a lot of stock in those things. 7-on-7 and lineman challenges, because it's not real football. What we want to see is what translates from the weight room to the football field, and hopefully our guys can do that, and they can use the strength that they've added to make themselves better on Friday night.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that has been the big talk this year is the transition back into 4A. And of course, I know the district's tough. Just looking at a rundown, you're going to have a much improved Greenup and Boyd County compared to when they were in 4A last time, and Rowan County team that's just 3 years removed from their first regional final appearance and since the early 80s, and then of course Johnson Central, who's had 2 state titles recently. Talk about that and just how you feel about the transition into 4A and the district.
Well, we're excited. I mean, it adds a little more flavor to your local rivalries, and you just look at their roster. You look at those teams' rosters, and you can tell that things are going in the right direction. Boyd County's roster's up, and Greenup and Rowan County, and those guys do a great job. Kelly out at Rowan County, and Travis, at Greenup, and Evan at Boyd. They do a fantastic job. And then Coach Peck up at Johnson Central. He's kept that machine going, and so it's exciting to be back and have some of that local flavor there. But all those guys do a great job, and we're just excited to be able to chance to have to compete with them on Fridays.
Mm-hmm. Of course, one opponent that's been a good addition to the district is Johnson Central, and you look at that matchup, and you have a team that had some great games with. Between 2005 and 2018, we had 5 games that were decided by 3 points or less. Talk about that and just how you feel about them, and of course jumping into what's expected to be one of maybe the deepest class in the state.
Yeah, I think 4A is probably one of the toughest classes in a state. I mean, you throw in Boyle County and Corbin in that mix, and several other teams. Bardstown, which is on our schedule, they're in 4A now. So there's a lot of good teams in 4A. But Johnson Central's always had a good program, and since Coach Matney got there, and they kind of built that up, and Coach Peck's kept that thing going. And a lot of people refer to it as a rivalry game, and I don't really see it that way, because we've not been very successful in that game. So I don't think you can call it a rivalry game unless you're successful in it. I think we've only beaten them a couple times. So we've got to continue to work and get our program to where we need it to be, and we can start splitting those games or winning most of them. We can start calling it a rivalry game, but until then, it's just another opponent to us, and we just got to continue to work and develop our program and get it to the point we need it to be.
Mm-hmm. And coming up this week, Raceland. Of course, Raceland, a tough opponent themselves, especially in the first week of the year. What is your team's mindset coming into it?
Just being prepared. I think in years past we've kind of gone in that game not ready to play the first game. They've kind of been more ahead, I guess, as far as being able game ready. Preparedness as far as just being more fundamentally sound and not making as many mistakes. So we've tried to focus on that this summer, and we did a mini camp in June to try to install everything in before we went on dead period, just to kind of accelerate the learning curve. So hopefully we can change those things, but they're a well-coached team, and they got a good program, and so we'll have our hands full. I think they were ranked top 25 in the state preseason of all classes, so we're excited to get an early test against them.
Lastly, is there any message that you'd like to say to the Ashland community?
Just very proud to lead this program and these young men. We have tremendous young men, and I'm super proud and super grateful to be the head coach of the Ashland Tomcats. It's been a dream come true for me, and coaching here has been a dream for me, and it's just been icing on the cake, win or lose, and just proud to represent this town and this community and these young men that are in our locker room.
Nice. Said, well, Coach, we thank you for your time, and be sure to stay tuned. There'll be plenty coming up on this Ashland Tomcat football team. They start week 1 against Raceland Friday night, 7:30, Putnam Stadium. We thank you all for watching this episode of Rollin' Sports, where you meet the athlete.